Welcome to Mushroom Wonderland.
Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Aaron Hilliard with Mushroom Wonderland, and I got this idea today that it might be interesting to just go for a walk around the neighborhood right here in town and just spot and try to ID mushrooms that are just growing right here in town. And so we're just gonna go walk through the park and down the sidewalks and around the courthouse and stuff, and just see what kind of mushrooms we can see growing. Kind of an urban forage. So let's go see what mushrooms are growing in town. Come with me. Just going for a walk in the neighborhood. You can find those little brown mushrooms all over the place, and they're called LBMs. Actually, like David Aurora kind of coined that term in the book Mushrooms Demystified, and it's because there's like literally like thousands of little brown mushrooms that grow in the Northwest, and just too many to try to know them all. So most of them are very undesirable, and so they just fall under the heading LBM, or a little brown mushroom. This one has something interesting growing all over it. These are turkey tails, trametes versicolor. Look how many are growing on this stump, and this tree was dead, and it could have been the fault of these mushrooms. They just like parasitized it. This is a turkey tail mushroom, and you can see that pore surface underneath. Let's see if I can focus on it. And these are drying out, but you can see these concentric rings. It's very leathery. This is the turkey tail mushrooms. Quite a nice flush of them, as well as the Phalloides species growing right here. It's like a red-belted conch. So this poor tree has been just taken over by mushrooms. There's another type of mycelium, or slimy. It's a slime mold. That's weird. And this is a Phalloides. I want to say a Phalloides Monsier growing right here off this plum tree in town. So quite a bunch of little fungi diversity growing off of this tree. The turkey tail, quite a medicinal mushroom, a good one to collect and dry out, make some tea out of. All right, let's walk. It's just so beautiful out. My little town here in Port Orchard looks a lot like New England or something. So I came across one of the coolest mushrooms out here, one of the most recognizable mushrooms in the world. All right, y'all, so I came across a really cool mushroom, one that is probably the most famous looking mushroom in the world that everybody thinks of when they think of a mushroom. And this one has been characterized by emojis on Facebook and social media. You would know it from Super Mario Brothers. And so right down here, we've got this beautiful patch of Amanita Muscaria. Yeah, the fly agaric. And this is a really beautiful mushroom. Look how big and beautiful these guys are. If you look, they're actually forming a fairy ring. So how perfect is that? But we'll take a closer look at these mushrooms and talk about them a little bit. All right, so here's your Amanita Muscaria. These classic looking mushrooms. They're red, they got these white spots on them. They're pretty large. You can see the things as big as my hand. Some people confuse these for magic mushrooms, but they really aren't. So let's take a look at the anatomy of one of these mushrooms, and I'm gonna dig down here a little bit, get underneath it so we can really have a good look. This is the way that you ID a mushroom, right? You gotta get all the way underneath it, and there we can pull it out. And so there we have Amanita Muscaria. So let's start at the top. It's red. This one's actually turning orange as it gets more mature. They were very red when they were young, and it's got these white spots all over it. And then as we look under the cap, it's got these big white gills. And this surface right here, these are called gills. They're like little pieces of paper. They have a really sharp edge on them. So right here is where the gills attach to what is called the stipe. You'd probably call it a stem. That's what it's called in plant terminology, but in mushroom terminology, this is called the stipe. And then right here, this is known as the annulus, or the ring. And what happens is when this mushroom starts out as a small ball, it opens up And the edge of the cap right here tears away from the stem or the stipe, and it leaves behind this veil. And then as you continue down the stipe, you see that it's coming out of this kind of a bulbous base with all this sheathy material on it. And so this mushroom starts growing in this little egg, and as it bursts out of it, the remnants of this part is actually what ends up on the top of the cap. So these little white spots are actually just the same flesh as right here. These are considered to be toxic. They can be processed in a way which makes them edible, and there's also another process that can make them into a deliriant or a dissociative type of, I'm not even going to use the word hallucinogenic, because these aren't even illegal, because the way they make you feel is so unpleasant and you will have a very weird experience. So these are not a classic magic mushroom. Although a lot of people have a misconception that these are magic mushrooms, they're not in the traditional sense. Those would be in the psilocybe genus, and I'm not interested in trying to boil these twice to eat them or anything like that. That is one way that people make these into an edible. So I'm just going to replant that back. And although it's not going to continue growing after I did that, it will continue to drop spores for a while. So I'm just going to leave that there. But how beautiful are those? That's Amanita Muscaria variety, flavivulvata. That is the Pacific Northwest variety. So a beautiful mushroom, an urban mushroom, and one you might see growing around parks or schools near your house. This mushroom grows all around the world, different varieties of it. So anyways, Amanita Muscaria. Look at the size of that bad boy. Yeah, we got some pretty mushrooms here. So yeah, pretty cool to find the Amanita Muscaria. My dog thinks so. And we're gonna continue to walk. So keep your eye out for these, really pretty one. Another thing about these mushrooms, I just found a couple more big ones. But something else to consider about these is just because insects have been eating them does not mean that they're safe for humans to eat. So that's another old country wives' tale that is not true. Just because something else has been munching on this does not mean that it's safe to eat. So keep that in mind. Let's have a look at these. These are a couple more that across. Beautiful, but these ones have been getting chewed on by slugs. But you can really see this vulva that it's came out of, this ringed vulva. It's got all these different levels of rings here. And this stuff, if I was to peel a piece of that off, is the exact same stuff as that is right there on the cap. So thinking that these white spots are some kind of poison or something like that. It's not any different than what's down there. It's just mushroom flesh. So there you go. All right, so I'm in this beautiful park and came across the beginnings of what I think is a very interesting mushroom. And these, if you look here, we've got young amanitas starting to grow. And what these are is Amanita phalloides, or the death cap mushroom. This is a very, very toxic mushroom, the most poisonous mushroom in the world, actually. And these are just the beginnings. They're little egg sacs, you see. And this color is kind of an olive color. Traditionally, people think that death caps are all white, but they actually have this kind of opaque olive color. Some chunks of the death cap, so this is what it looks like. We've got this very olive color, white gills underneath. See that? Here's the stipe, or the stem. It has this big veil on it. And you can imagine it kind of looks like this when it's not kicked over. Oh, there was a big one growing right here. So it could maybe look like a puffball or something, but when I break this cap open, you're gonna see that there are gills inside of here. So Amanita phalloides, one to be aware of. I wish they were a little bit more mature of specimens, but you can really see the color. It's kind of this greenish olive color. This one's getting ready to sprout out of its universal veil, and so this veil covers the whole thing, and as it grows it explodes out of this little egg and it'll make a really big beautiful mushroom. This tree is called a big leaf linden, and this is a European hardwood. Look at, there's more trying to pop up here and more right here. So death caps are here in the PNW, so something to be aware of. Very dangerous urban mushroom here in the PNW, one you gotta watch out for. So here I am at this shopping center, and if we look right over here in the grass, what we have here are young boletes. These are known as white kings, Boletus Barrowsii. So you can see under the cap we got this sponge bolete surface. On the stipe there's reticulation, and they're growing right underneath some beech trees. So really cool mushrooms, and they're growing in big troops. So look at this. Oh, they're kind of breaking apart, but white kings, Boletus Barrowsii. Big clusters of them growing here. So. Look at that. They're actually great edible mushrooms. So we're going to take some of these for the dinner pot, and a really cool mushroom to find right in town, Boletus Barrowsii. So I hope you found some value in this video, kind of urban foraging. These are mushrooms that you might be able to find around your neighborhood, and some very interesting ones. Everybody likes to see those Amanita Muscarias, pretty common in the autumn here in the PNW. Also the death cap, one that you should be aware of. They're actually a little more rare than you might think. And Boletus Barrowsii, all very cool mushrooms. And I'll just continue doing forays and pointing at mushrooms and talking about them a little bit. And hopefully see you on the next episode. Thanks, everyone.